Hello, friends, and welcome to the 28th episode of All New Snap Judgments. As always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me today is my friend and yours, the one and only Aaron Glazer. Glazer, my friend, how are you on these doldrum days of December?
I'm great. I really like that this podcast is the only place in the community or in my real life that I get to have a first name still. So I'm really big on that.
I refer to you and your wife refer to you by your first name. You're all right, which is a thing that I very believe most people I call by their last name or some shortened version of their name. But for my friend and yours, Aaron Glazer, I refer to him by his first name, Aaron. So my wife also calls him Aaron. But anyway, that as much as the insights into both my psychology and Aaron's love of his first name, we have two wonderful special guests to help us get out of the doldrums of December. Aaron, who is joining us today?
We are joined first by Marvel Snap's fastest growing YouTuber. We've got the great DoctorOctillery. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here. I'm excited for this.
And should our viewers and listeners like to find you, how do they do so?
I'm pretty much on every platform, mainly YouTube and Twitter, I guess are my go-to under DoctorOctillery. So easy peasy.
In addition to the fastest growing YouTuber, we have the fastest growing Twitch streamer. We have Obihaved, and he never does. How you doing, Obi?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me tonight. I'm pumped.
A pleasure. Okay, so you're gonna tell us, DoctorOctillery, you can just sound out, right? Obihaved, you can sound out, but you're gonna get some weird stuff. So tell us how to find you and spell your name, please.
Sure. You can find me at Obihaved on any of the platforms: YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, X, however you want to call it these days.
No. On this podcast, it's only Twitter because it makes people. It makes the Musk fans rage, so it has to still be Twitter.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead, Obi, but then I have something very important to say. So,
Sure, not a problem. And it's spelled Obihaved, like behave, but it's Obihaved.
It could be Obihaved, and he could just be really bad at grammar.
Well, if we're asking Browde, it's Obihaved.
I'm actually on a Brade's side here. That's how I would naturally want to pronounce it. Just like I'm very clear, as officially the person who is in Aaron's comment section every single day, reminding him that Twitter is no longer called Twitter, but is currently the alphabet letter X. Who knows? With after all of this week's setbacks for Mr. Musk, maybe it will become Y. He'll have to sell off the name X. We'll never know. It'll be Z before we know it. But until then, you can find us on X at SnapJudgeCast. We are also extremely proud to be the official podcasting partner and official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We are so grateful always to be partnered with them. And that means that you should join their Discord, which has the awesome pleasure of being the best large Discord in all of Marvel Snap. So please click the link in the description of this video or in your friendly neighborhood podcatcher. And please join the Discord, join the community, talk with Aaron, who's always available to you 24/7, 365 in the Discord channel that is set up for us within their Discord server. We are also available at the place we receive emails from X, which is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. And this last week, we will be saying this because this account, like the animal it is attached to, has gone extinct, is our Mastodon account, which is Snap Judgments with an E at tabletop.vip. I will miss saying that, but we were informed by our former co-host that this is a dead account. So we're saying goodbye to it. So again, if you want to say goodbye to us on Mastodon, you can do so at Snap Judgments with an E at tabletop.vip. And then last, but definitely not least, at over 7,000 subscribers right now is our YouTube channel, which is at Snap Judgments Pod, where you can tune in just about every day, but I believe Saturdays. Who knows?
Sunday.
Never Saturdays. Never Saturdays. Anyway, most days of the week, 6 days of the week. Aaron is there. It's constantly popping up in my notifications. Is our Daily Snap Takes from Glazer. So Glazer, if our loyal listeners were to become our loyal viewers, what would they find on the YouTube channel right now?
Okay, right now we've got a ton of blob decks, fundamentally, and we're working on Bounce without Darkhawk, but also Conquerors was this week, and we're not going to really talk about Conquerors on this episode, because over on Marvel Snap Zone, I wrote a full review of the whole freaking event, and then I covered the top 4 decks in a video. However, there's one thing I do need to say about Conquerors. There was a giant Marvel Snap controversy regarding the Conquerors event. Our friend, our former guest, Eggs, spoke out because there was only one woman of the 16 participants. She was correct. This is not going to be a topic of discussion for us because everyone here, everyone on this podcast, I know my friends, Roy, agrees. This is a given. We are not discussing this in the comments, but we here and Snap Judgments believe in kindness, equality, and equity, and we want to give more than just one type of person a chance to succeed and the best chance to succeed. If you don't like that, and this is our adieu to you, then I hope that with time, you come back with an open mind. But that is where we stand on this matter. And that's the end of that.
I want to add one quick thing, Aaron. I want to just make it clear, since I do not participate in Marvel Snap Twitter very often, that I co-sign all the things that Aaron just said. And particularly if you are someone who does not want to agree and wants to be in our comments about it, you can like our Mastodon account now, get out of here, and leave the comment section and leave watching this video. So, all right, on that one, which I was very proud of myself for that on the fly metaphor I came up with, we're going to talk about our new and making cards disappear. So it all works. All right, so here we go. We've got Blob. All right, this is the new first card besides the season pass card of the season, the Hellfire Galaga season classic X-Men villain is Blob here. Series 5, 6K tokens. What does your 6K tokens buy you? It buys you a 6 cost, 4 power on reveal. Merge your deck into this and gain its total power. Ongoing, cannot be moved. Before I turn to our guest, Aaron, what does merge your deck mean with this card?
It means he eats it, but it doesn't die or get discarded. He just sort of absorbs all the power from all the cards in your deck. None of the text, except for, I believe, and I haven't actually tested this, so I could be wrong, but Sebastian Shaw. Because he's the only card I know of that gets power in your deck. He doesn't get the extra 10 power if you have played all the stones and Thanos is in your deck. But he absorbs all the power of the cards in your deck. That is base power, not unrevealed power, not ongoing power. Shaw specifies in deck. That's why it works.
All right. I'll throw it to Doc Ock. All right. Tell me, what do you think of the unmovable blob?
He's just came out. It's been just a couple days, but we all know he's pretty damn good, it looks like. I thought he'd be pretty good beforehand. Maybe I might have actually said best card of the month.
You did.
When I did? Okay, perfect. I'm glad I told you that, Glazer. Yeah, you asked me. I'm like, it's got to be him or Celine, best of the month. And tough competition for Celine because Blob has just taken over. I think he had a little bit of hype, but I didn't expect him to see this amount of play in the first week. Like, I didn't think he had this much hype, but he is taken over, and mainly to Darkhawk was really popular. So that big flip really, did it. Him countering Darkhawk. So we'll see what deck he ends up in as a staple long term, but it seems like he's got a couple places besides Thanos even. So he's good. He's here to stay, I think, for a long, long time if he doesn't get changed at all.
Obi.
Well, what can I say? The big guy has single-handedly revived Thanos in the meta, right? Like, Thanos was just out, It was a lot of Bounce, a lot of Wolf, Lockdown, Miss Marvel, very little Thanos, and Thanos is just like everywhere right now. Blob, great. He's another big stat stick, just like a massive Double Dino, you know, even bigger Double Dino. He's a lot of fun to play with, especially if you can cheat him out early and duplicate him or copy him.
Okay, so I have several non-play relevant thoughts. So I'm going to get those out of the way, and then we'll talk about how good Blob is. First of all, I don't know if any of you are 80s wrestling fans, but the core Blob, when he's getting shot, just makes it look like he has polka dots, and I can't see the base art without going, oh, it's Dusty Rhodes. Thing 2. Did that work for you, Doc?
I don't recognize the Dusty Rhodes, but I've never thought about the polka dots. And now I kind of can't unsee it. It kind of does look like a design pattern and not just like some bullet shots or cannons, whatever it's supposed to be.
Yeah, it's real weird art. Second is, we should have all known Blob was going to be good. They literally told us, Glenn on this podcast literally told us they needed more powerful 6s. We knew that. That was why I knew Eliath was going to be busted. They weren't just going to make like one really powerful 6 and then the next 6 they release have it be a piece of crap, right? That wouldn't make any sense. So Blob was naturally going to be great. And third, Blob is like the D-list at best of X-Men villains. Why the fuck is Blob one of the best cards in Marvel Snap?
Whoa. Blob is... All right, hold on.
All right, go defend Francis.
Blob.
Is his name Francis?
Blob Marvel. I just want to... he is an old school Marvel villain. First appearance, X-Men number 3, 1964, my friend. He has been Brotherhooded of deleted mutants since the original days, man. Like, I don't know.
He's old does not mean powerful or good. And he is both powerful and extraordinarily good.
I'm just saying, this man's an OG. That's a Marvel. That's all I'm saying. So,
I mean, yet he's late to the game Marvel Snap, but he's dominant. Like, Blob, like, okay. So I know Power Fantasy card game. You don't yell at me about this, but like, Blob is stronger than Galactus and like way stronger than the Hulk and way strong. Like, it's the Blob. But here we are.
I mean, Blob is only more powerful after Galactus after he got nerfed like 17 times. So, like, original Galactus still more powerful than the Blob. Maybe your point about the Hulk there, but the Hulk's pretty basic. Just like, you know, the Hulk is, you know, he's a basic Marvel hero. I mean, I get what you're saying, Aaron. I think on design level, though, like, the Blob is a character that has room for some cool designs. And I think one of the reasons why you'll see more obscure characters have cool designs is you want to run out a lot of the really famous characters ASAP, and you want to make them as accessible as possible, right? You want people to be able to play with the Hulk from day one, right? And you can't make the cards people are playing from day one super duper strong. That's not saying all, like Iron Man, for example, is a Series 1 card and still sees a decent amount of play, right? Not like all of these cards, but like the design space of like entry level cards that are also good is really small. So you're just going to see a lot of things just not get good designs.
Like the Thing.
But there hopefully will be more cards like High Evolutionary, who can like make you look at these like kind of generic early cards better. But that's not here about the Blob. I have a couple questions for you, my friends, particularly about the ongoing ability of this card. So I haven't been able to play very much this week because I've been very busy with work. But has the text cannot be moved? Is that a vital part of this card? Or is that basically, as Magic designers would call it, trinket text, which is text exists on the card because it's cool or thematic, but doesn't actually have very much play viability?
I'll chime in here to start. I think the ongoing, very purposely done to interact with Sauron. As a lot of thought people had with Blob was that you'd put him in a Shuri deck to like double him up even more. Not that he needs it, but Sauron will remove all abilities from ongoing cards. So if you had Blob in your deck or hand and you played Sauron, you would take away Blob's ongoing and Blob's on reveal. So they counter each other, like they have anti-synergy. Whereas if you didn't have that ongoing, it could be fine with Sauron. So I think they actually did it to not make Sauron, Shuri, Blob busted. And then thematically, it sounds cool. I don't think it does much in game. Like, I don't think it matters. It's such a niche instance where you would maybe move him or, want him moved or not moved. So I think they did it a bit thematic, but also just for anti-Sauron synergy. Just my thoughts.
What he said. Oh,
yeah. I mean, that plays really well. The only thing I think of is they knew a lot of people were going to be cheating this card out early. So to avoid having like Arrow or a Spider-Man come into play when you're going to be Zoling or just like you would do with Arrow on a Shuri deck, you want to pull the Taskmaster onto the Red Skull lane. Can't do that with the Blob.
So is Strange Academy the like chuck everything all over the place on turn 5? I don't actually know location names. I could easily be wrong.
I think that's Strange Academy, the one that moves cards there on turn 5. I think it's Strange Academy.
Yeah, just like throws
sends
everything.
them flying.
Sends them flying. It just like poofs them. Like, so that's the real location that Blob has interacted with, like as far as like it's clearly for Sauron. But that's the other major use I've found, that like if you cheat Blob out, being able to just plop it on Strange Academy is really, really nice.
Okay, then I'll throw this to Obi first. Sebastian Shaw, thoughts, feelings, sensations. What you got for us?
Sure. I was really pumped about Sebastian Shaw. I'm a big Surfer fanatic from when he first launched. I will still argue to this day that he should be a +3, even though everybody shouts me down from the hilltops.
You might be right.
Shaw is an okay card. I mean, he does well as a big fat stat stick for that deck. I'm struggling to find uses for him outside of that shell, and even with him in it, unless you're doing multiple things with Silver Surfer, like a Wong or even Absorbing Man, it still struggles power-wise, in my opinion.
I agree on that. He's just kind of all right. He's a decent card. I wasn't too hyped on him. I did not think he was going to be very good beforehand, just because he seemed really tied down to Surfer, like Obi mentioned, and Surfer's not in a great spot right now. I also love playing Surfer, but you do have to change, even him in a Surfer deck, you have to change the deck to like accommodate him. And just being stats on a single card in a single place seemed like it wasn't worth it. So he's definitely the worst season pass card in a while, but maybe that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just pretty simple, straightforward, maybe great for newer players, but I don't know. It does seem like he's gonna just see really no play because Surfer's not a good spot. And if Surfer's not a good spot, I don't see him seeing play after they stop the weekend missions where you play him to get the tokens or credits, whatever. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even help him out or give him some better synergy in the future whenever Firestar comes out, to have him see more play again.
He's so boring.
Yeah, he's pretty one-dimensional.
It's just like, oh, look, an extra 2 power. That's cute. Right? Like, even like putting him on your island, it gets old so fast. Like, it's just, he's so boring. What the hell? Like, he's better than Dakin. He's a better card than Dakin overall, I think. Probably. Like, outside of discard, that which no longer seems to really exist. Like, he's better than Dakin in general. But, like, Dakin was fun. I liked Dakin. Phoenix was fun. At least when they were bad, they were fun. Like, I'm so bored by Shaw. And like, in fairness, Shaw is a super boring villain. He's like, what? Shaw's thematic concern, like Magneto is like a real thematic concern. Shaw's thematic concern is, who really keeps minorities down? Capitalism. That's Shaw. Right? Like, fine, he's a boring villain and he's got a boring effect. And it's like thematic and he sucks. And I don't like him at all. But he's good in Surfer decks, fine.
Do you think it was a miss having him be a season pass card then?
Yeah, 100%. Like, without any question, I think it's a miss having him be a season pass card. If you're in series, like, so what I want to see from season pass cards, and they never do this because Lord knows they don't care, is I want to see stuff that works at least a little bit in series 1 and 2.
I mean,
it
doesn't
doesn't
he
have to
work
be.
with Ironheart and
Yeah,
some
but
other cards that are?
yeah, but like you shouldn't be playing Ironheart in Series 1 and 2. Like he works technically, right? But like,
No, I'm just saying, like there are,
yeah.
but like Captain America, right? Doesn't he also work with Cap?
No, he does not.
No,
No,
He
it's
doesn't. He
on-
doesn't
Captain
work
it's
with
an
America.
Cap.
ongoing thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It has
So
to be a
he
permanent
works with
card.
Forge, who I believe is Series 2. No,
Yeah.
Forge is actually Series 1.
Yeah,
I think.
Forge.
So it
Okay.
works with Forge, it works with Nakia, and it works with. Oh, where the hell is Okoye?
Nakia
I guess
and then
Okoye. Nakia.
Okoye.
So like
Okoye's in there.
the problem is he works with bad cards. Probably not that he doesn't work
Yes.
with Series 1 and 2.
But he
Like-
Yes,
but he works with bad cards, but he works with satisfying bad cards. You see what I'm saying? Like,
Sure, but if you want to ever like win with this card and not be sad that you spent $10, you need Surfer, and that's a Series 3 card. Although, honest to God, Surfer could probably be a Series 2 card, and the world wouldn't break.
maybe.
He also needs to
Yeah.
be +3.
He
Okay,
needs
well,
something.
everyone needs to be +3. I got it.
But Miss Marvel, to your point,
That
Glazer,
everybody.
Miss Marvel worked great with pools 1 and 2, right? Wasn't that like the
Mhm.
high-rated deck? It was like all pools 1, 2 plus Miss Marvel. So it was great for new players. I think Sebastian Shaw, easy to understand for new players, but you're right. New players can't get Surfer. That's like such a big miss for Shaw.
I mean, Loki, great with Series 1 and 2. Elsa, great with Series 1 and 2. Daken, great for Series 1 and 2. We don't talk about Phoenix Force. Ghost Spider, good with Series 1 and 2. Nebula, great with Series 1 and 2. Like, they've mostly nailed this, except for, like, Shaw, who's very bit. Like, I think I spend more time, I think, than most creators, which is not necessarily an insult. That's not, like, the primary content consumer. Worrying about, like, fundamentally Series 2 and early Series 3 players. And like making them have fun is how this game continues to grow. And saying I spent $10 and got a card that's worse than Miles is sad.
Oh wow, coming for Miles here, just
Well,
like
Miles
Spider-Man
is
2
Season Pass.
Reddit. But what I just wanted to add, sort of, I think the mistake was that Hellfire Club is like a weird group, like organization to theme a month around.
It's not the Hellfire Club, it's the Hellfire Gala.
But like a lot of the most interesting things about the Hellfire Gala are already cards, right? Like, I mean, Blob did have a cool design, but like, you know, like Jean Grey's like outfit was really memorable there, right? There's like when the original Hellfire happened, like most of the characters who had memorable outfits already exist, and the most like famous and important Hellfire Club member, which is White Queen, is already a card, right? So like, who is a headline Hellfire Club character? It's got to be Sebastian Shaw, who, as Glazer said, is kind of a thematic dead end. And so I personally think that like Havoc would have been a more interesting card. That might have been too complex, but like I also think he's an easier character to sell than Sebastian Shaw. So people might buy passes because they like Havoc. Not saying no one likes Sebastian Shaw. There are obviously people who do.
Wait, people like Havoc?
Yeah,
Alex Summers, not Scott. Alex Summers.
Yeah, there are Havoc fans. He's Glazer. He's been an X-Men, like a consistent X-Men
since like number 5.
I know, and
He's in the movies, Glazer. Come
a
on.
well-developed one since the Claremont era. Like, come on, man. There are definitely a lot of Havoc fans up there. Is he a top-tier X-Men? But they also thought he also carried an Avengers book, man. Like,
look,
like he's.
I want a Madeline Pryor card that's just on reveal. Take control of Havoc.
Oh my god! All right, we're moving on from this. Anyway, let's jump into the main segment for today. Glazer, why don't you explain what we are doing this evening?
We're doing the top 10 cards in Snap. We all have our top 10. Others won't know it. Like, everyone made their top 10, right? Not at me, people. Yeah? Look at that. So the 10 best cards, this isn't just like our 10 favorites. We go 10 to 1, each say our card, so the next slide is going to be 10. People watching on YouTube, you're not going to see it updated, but in the show notes will be the like link to this, and you can see it there. If, let's say that I don't, but let's say I have Jeff number 10, and Obi has Jeff number 5. If I say Obi at 10, Jeff says nope, and we don't talk about them in there. We only talk about the card when it's at the highest it's going to be. And then at the end, we look at all of our rankings, and we sort of argue out a grand top 10 as best we can. Everybody clear? All right, let's get to number 10. Doc, you're first up. What is your 10th best card in Marvel Snap?
All right. Number 10, you guys might not have actually. I picked Mystique.
Ooh.
Right? No one else has Mystique top 10, I figured.
Does anyone else have Mystique?
No, I don't have Mystique, no.
All right,
Yeah.
so tell us about Mystique and why she's here.
Well, first of all, it turns out 10 is a big number for picking best cards. I was thinking, like, what are the 10 best? So it was kind of tough. But Mystique, I personally play a lot of ongoing, and I like a lot of, like, just raw power ongoing or tribunal shenanigans. And Mystique, like, is always there. Any kind of deck that has a good couple ongoing cards, Mystique's probably, like, the best supporting card you have. You put her in Mr. Negative, Cerebro, just pure ongoing decks, works with Darkhawk. Like, she just kind of is always there, and she always produces great value and pretty flexible, considering, like, her ability is very specific. So I find she gets great value out of basically any deck she's in. You pretty much want to draw her every game.
I think Mystique is great, and a week ago she might have made it.
Yeah, that's true. I'm thinking maybe not this week.
Lob
Not this
smash.
week.
Obi, what you got?
I have Nico Minoru at number 10.
Does anyone
Save
have
it.
Nico?
Yep,
higher?
I've got her
Saved.
higher.
Done. Roy.
Dr. Doom.
Oh,
Anyone have
save
Doom
that
higher?
one.
Safe.
Doom
Yeah.
is saved. My number 10 is Annihilus. I can talk Annihilus? Cool. So Annihilus was not good the first week, or at least he was mid the first week. What Annihilus has found in bounce shells, even without Darkhawk, is fundamentally his own Red Skull play. No, since Annihilus isn't a mirror play constantly, you're going to fundamentally, almost anytime you want, get the Sentry into Annihilus off. If you get the Sentry into Annihilus off, congratulations. You just played a 27 power 4/5 play. You just Shuri Red Skulled. That's backbreaking. It's game winning. If you've got something like a werewolf, it's like Shuri Red Skull, except you can move your cards around still, so your opponent might think they can win, but they fundamentally cannot at that point. The power of that is absurdly high. I think if Annihilus ever takes over the meta, he's counterable, but as a card you see sometimes, he's extraordinarily hard to beat.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
Yeah.
Cool.
To chime in on that, personally, I was at 12,000 this morning, and I'm sitting somewhere at mid 4,000s using exactly that. The Sentry Annihilus package with some Wolf Bounce and an Enchantress sprinkled in there for flavor.
Ooh, tasty. We are on to number 9. What do we got?
All right. My number 9 is Zabu.
Anyone need Zabu saved? Wow.
No, we're good.
No, I
cut-
do. I was.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
you do.
I
You do have.
some.
Okay.
Oh, yes. And
Okay.
I already have a
I'm
feeling.
like, I got some
my
unpopular
brain
picks
is gonna be
tonight.
very
You guys
constable.
are
No.
roasting me.
I cut Zabu literally because I was like, I cut 2 cards because I was like, someone else has them and I want to talk about more.
Uh-huh.
Zabu
Yeah,
is
okay.
one.
Okay.
Obi, what you got?
I have Iron Lad at number 9.
Save them.
That's not even close. Yeah. Roy.
Mine is. It could be really a couple of cards. I went back and forth on which one I exactly wanted to say here, but I've ended up with MODOK. I wanted a card that represented discard as sort of like just kind of an archetype, and all the cards that are only discard only are kind of interchangeable on power level. So I went with MODOK.
Not higher for me. Anyone? No? Lots of head shaking. Tell us about MODOK.
Well, I mean, discard, I know it seems to have disappeared some in the post-blob, post-nerf world. Discard has consistently been the best archetype since the game launched, in the sense that, like, it's resilient. It has faded to tier 2, been tier 1.5, recently was tier 1 again. Maybe it's tier 3 again, but it's, like, constantly a presence in the meta. It's also one that you can build very early and take with you to infinite or high ranks from when you are series 2 all the way to when you are series collection complete. So it's a very sort of like card flexible, high synergy deck. And I think it is like really fun. I think it's the most fun, honest combo deck in Marvel Snap. And it's one that is very, very resilient to interaction. It doesn't have as high a ceiling as many of the combo decks and do, but it does have a very, very, very high floor. So I think MODOK does a good job of representing the archetype because it does something really cool and really busted and screws up the animations. So that's why I would put MODOK there.
Does anyone have
Could have been Morgan time.
Oh, does anyone have any MODOK thoughts?
That animation's actually at the end there, Roy. That is like the most annoying thing right now is that you see your opponent play MODOK and it does the fast forward and you literally have no idea what cards were discarded. Like that is so harmful. Like that's a buff for your opponent. Like the MODOK player, you just have information that your opponent does it and you shouldn't. That makes him stronger right now than he should be. It's so annoying anytime I see that.
I mean, it basically means their hand is full of swarms. Like, particularly with America Gone, like the information you gain is that player has a lot of swarms in their hand. Like a whole lot of swarms. A lot of 0-3s coming.
I was just going to add that if you would have asked me to do this last week, MODOK would have been on the list prior to the Chavez.
Mm-hmm. I think the list is real. I just think no one's bothered to figure it out. But I have one more question. Because did you like the MODOK on Hulu? No one watched MODOK on Hulu?
I did. I watched the first 2 episodes. No, come on, man. There's a reason why that show didn't get renewed. All right, we should move on to number 8.
Can I do mine? Do I count?
I thought you went.
No. It's the order's on the screen, sir. Mine, number 9, is Venom. Does anyone have Venom? No? So to me, Venom is the card that makes Destroy happen. The Venom buff is fundamentally when Destroy started working again. You can work it at a lower tier without X23. You can work it without Null. You can even work it without Death, as our friend Mobius taught us for a while. But without Venom, the deck completely falls apart. You need that third kill enabler for the deck to be really good. That Venom also is something you can play anywhere from turn 3 to 5, and that can become a game-winning threat, while also empowering everything else. Keeping the power also makes Nimrod really powerful. Like, he is one of the best and most important cards in Marvel Snap. Also, one of the worst characters, but that's neither here nor there. Any Venom thoughts?
Venom's been great since they gave him the boost. I've enjoyed him greatly.
All right. We are done with Venom. We are on to number 8 with DoctorOctillery. And if he doesn't say Dr. Octopus eventually, we're going to have a fight.
Uh-oh. I think number 8, I know we're skipping me because I have Iron Lad 8, but it sounds like some people got him even higher. So
yeah, Iron Lad's not happening yet.
Yeah. On to Obi.
At number 8, I have Shuri.
Still nope.
I have Shuri much further up.
Yeah. Roy?
Mine is Electro.
Oh, Electro's not on my list. Anyone have Electro? Tell us about Electro.
I think Electro is a game warping card that continuously warps Marvel Snap. The fact that you have access to this is a really, really powerful deck building incentive. I think the fact that Blob has encouraged ramp decks again, because it gives ramp decks something powerful to do besides the sort of usual suspects. Like, I think ramp decks, as being a consistent player, just need like constant generically good threats that are good to play at 6 and good to play at 5 and 4 and even 3 if you get an energy thing or whatever. And sort of Electro being one of the most powerful and one of the most abusable versions of this with some of the locations is just a card that is always going to cause certain decks to exist in Marvel Snap. So
I could see it. I don't like Kate Electro on this list at all. He's real good. Thanks Galactus for not existing though. I lost 8 to Galactus this week, so I guess it sort of exists just because I didn't bother to play around it. All right. My number 8 is High Evolutionary. Does anyone have High Evolutionary higher?
I have him higher.
I do.
Ooh,
Yes.
all right. No Evo, and we go on to number 7.
Okay, number 7, I've got Nebula.
Not on my list.
Anyone? No?
Anyone?
No.
All right. Yeah, Nebula as a 1-drop is extremely flexible. I personally like a lot of control, lockdown, or just kind of tempo decks, which she is great in. Getting early lead or just forcing your opponents to play on a specific lane. Even if she doesn't power up, she kind of forces your opponent to play somewhere, and that can just be really good. So you can worry on your own game plan, and they have to try and adjust. Whereas like a card like Sunspot, you have to purposely like waste energy to try and power up. You put Nebula down, and she's putting in work the rest of the game without you doing anything.
In 1 month, Nebula will be on this list once Kyra comes out.
Oh, I'm not familiar. Oh, is that the protects 1 and 6 cost cards from being destroyed? Supposedly,
Yep.
according to the data mine.
I mean, look, the data mines for cards are almost never wrong.
Yeah,
Except
but
for
what about
Firestar,
their
she's seen as a card.
the global?
They'll get removed and stuff, but like the effects are very rarely wrong.
But the
Like, at least this close.
global protection isn't second dinner. It sounds like they're cutting down on global protection cards like Luke Cage. So
that was fundamentally a lie. Like we figured out why that happened today, right? Like
Ooh,
we figured
tell
out
me,
why.
tell
I
me.
guess technically Tuesday. Oh, see, someone didn't watch my video. That's now
Uh-oh.
we're fighting. No,
Uh-oh.
yeah. So the Elsa and Luke and Mind Stone nerfs were because they knew Blob was coming. I would bet any money. Elsa.
Wait, how does Blob interact with Luke Cage?
If you have Luke Cage on the board and you play Blob, what happens?
Can't Shadow King him.
Can't Shadow King him, can't Valkyrie him. And all you have to do is play him anywhere. If you're going to play Luke and still try and play Blob, at least you know where it is, which is a hell of a nerf to Blob, right? Elsa is incredibly strong, and her only home was Thanos, right? Like, she wasn't good anywhere else, but she was still really, really good in Thanos. That was like her one big home. But Thanos is now a meta deck. So if you know Thanos in 3 days is going to be a meta deck, what you do beforehand, as you can, is you say, well, as it's a patch, right? Like that had to be a patch nerf. You say, okay, let's pull back Elsa. And then, again, once Thanos gets this huge power up, oh my god. Everyone wants to run Nico in this deck. If you want to run Nico in the deck, and this is actually Lambie's thought, not mine. If you want to run Nico in the deck, you risk diluting your Finding the Time Stone by 3 for your ramp into 5. So that weakens Thanos again there. So like they found one way to weaken Blob directly and 2 like they made up a really cute excuse because they didn't want to be like, oh, Blob is coming, guys, get ready. but like I'm pretty sure that excuse is bullshit.
That makes sense. With Blob being out, if he does stay strong, because the new card, she's going to protect 1 and 6 cost cards, right? Wouldn't that also help out Blob? So
yes, but it's a 3/4, and Cam's new favorite saying is 2 is a magic number, 3 is not a magic number.
That's true. That's a good point.
And more than that, Shadow King and Valkyrie still work. And Shadow King is just right now a straight up better card than Shang-Chi. So that's my theory, at least.
I like it. I like the theory. I think it's very valid.
Thank you. But yeah, Nebula is going to be freaking phenomenal once she can't be killed. Literally, Killmonger is why she's not on my list.
Okay, that's fair.
My next card is Jeff.
Oh, I got Jeff higher.
I also have Jeff higher.
Jeff is the second card I cut because I knew people would have it higher. She was like, all right, I'm not putting Jeff and Zabu. Roy?
I have Devil Dinosaur, which I'm pretty sure nobody else has on here. I just picked this because it's, again, a generically powerful card that carries people and is like this huge like threat that shapes how the game operates. Like, it's just a card that it's very low investment to just like have Devil Dino. And I think actually with the coming of Blob, he's probably the best generic mid-range threat, because I think Dark Hawk took a significantly big hit here. And so I was thinking of like, what's a threat that mid-range kind of bullshit numbers players would gravitate to in a blob meta? I think that Devil Dino is the card.
Cool. This was my... Oh, do we want to talk Devil Dino? I don't have any Devil Dino thoughts.
But it does.
I have Devil Dino thoughts, but my Devil Dino thoughts are, I don't... Like, he's really, really good in Thanos right now, but I don't know if he has another deck because his other deck was Darkhawk, and Darkhawk got blobbed out of existence. Blah, blah, blah. Mine is Shuri, and people have Shuri hires, so we'll just keep going. Yeah. We still have Shuri hire.
All right. Yeah, Roy's not his head. So my number 6 we're on. I've got Nico. Does someone have Nico higher than 6?
No.
No? All right. Yeah, Nico I have as an extremely strong card. Just above Nebula, I think Nico's probably the most versatile one-cost card in the game. Obviously, she's seeing good play right now with Thanos still, and she's playing Loki decks. I think she was in Lambie's Loki deck that he just won that Conquerors event with.
Correct.
And Nico's just in a lot of other Destroy, a staple. So I really thought she was going to be kind of just decent before she came out. That was like my last really bad prediction that I made, my most recent one. And she really surprised me. And she's just so versatile. I would not be surprised if one or two of her abilities get like touched up at some point. But I think she's just really good.
Nico thoughts, friends?
Yeah, I mean, she's the Swiss Army knife of Marvel Snap cards. She's a lot of mini things rolled into one package, and it's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I had Nico on the list, and then I pulled her off last minute. Not because I don't think she's as good, but because there was going to be a different one drop I was dying to add and had to cut. That's Black Knight, by the way. Black Knight is like a tier 1-ish card now. But I had to cut Black Knight, and I think Black Knight is better than Nico right now because Black Knight is a deck, and Nico is an enabler of decks. And like Black Knight is a tier 1 deck all of a sudden.
I'm waiting for 2 weeks when he's in the spotlights.
Oh, yeah. So, and then my theory for Nico is she's absolutely incredible and super versatile, but I think there's a real argument that the Thanos Blob is the best deck, or at least one of the 2 best decks. And she's in one and not the other, and she specifically got pulled from one. So, like, she's close. When we argue about it and come up with our, like, unified top 10, I'd be pretty surprised if she doesn't actually make it. Obi?
My next card is Dr. Doom.
Higher. I got him higher.
I had him in 10, so.
Roy?
I have Silver Surfer.
Ooh. Go for it.
Silver Surfer, again, powerful archetype. It just got a card that I think does make the deck, if not more powerful, then more compelling for a lot of people. I also think Jean Grey is pretty well positioned right now. And so these like 3 drops. And the fact that I have another card on here that like incentivizes people to play like certain cards in a certain way. High Evolutionary card we've already mentioned, which will come up later, is another one. Like these cards that are high synergy. And I think that probably Silver Surfer is the most powerful of those individually as a card itself, because it simply has had to be nerfed. It's constantly an archetype that you see people having success with all the time, even if it waxes and wanes from whether it's at the top of the meta or in the middle of the meta. And I think it's pretty well positioned right now. In a world that some of its predators have gotten pushed out by the nerfs and the new cards, I think that Surfer is surfing along just fine, riding those interstellar waves to a pretty solid cube rate. So, and again, super powerful card that the entire game design has to be designed around. Every single 3-drop ever printed is going to be a consideration to play because of this card. And it's just, that makes it extremely powerful to me.
Question. If Silver Surfer was released next month instead of like 8 months ago, would he still get a nerf?
Yes.
No. No,
He's
man.
like a plus 18.
Plus 3 is dangerous.
That's when he's got.
+3 is the dangerous level. Those cards always get nerfed. Anything that gives +3, it gets changed to +2. We saw it with Forge, Elsa, Silver Surfer,
Right.
and we'll see it again when they keep releasing those.
All right, I have an argument about Surfer. I think Surfer is a tier 1 deck, and Shaw is what knocked it out of tier 1. I think Shaw makes Surfer decks worse. The version that Lambie, and I think the JD Woody version was better than the Lambie version. I think that version, with like Goose in it, just throw a Goose in it so you can't get blobbed. Although you're running Shadow King anyway, so if you don't have Prow, you'll be fine. Like, I think that version of the deck is just straight up like a tier 1 deck, and everyone stopped playing it because Sebastian Shaw is shiny and everyone has it because it's a season pass card. Like, I don't think Surfer was tier 1, and I don't think it got worse. I think people started playing worse versions.
I agree. I think Sebastian Shaw Surfer is worse than. Are you talking about like the Forge Absorbing Man?
No,
Brood one?
no.
Which one are you talking
Yes, it is worse than that as well. But no, I'm
Yeah.
talking specifically about the werewolf one. The one that's it's basically built around entirely around Surfer and Werewolf. The version I like ran Snowguard as a 1-drop along with Spider Ham, and what the hell else? It was like a Juggernaut build. It had a lot of really, really good and powerful cards, and it could go over the top of things. Werewolf was like absolutely backbreaking. It was like your snack
Yeah.
condition. If you had Werewolf, it was going to be huge and win a lane. I think all of those things are still true about that deck, but everyone plays the Shaw version, and the Shaw version is static because Shaw just sits in a lane and says, I'm going to try and contest here. And like, Shaw's not actually powerful enough to contest a lane on his own, but he tells your opponent that, like, if you're playing the Shaw version, you have to try and contest the Shaw lane. And Surfer doesn't win by going over the top of things since it's +2. It wins by all the little utility things, and the opponent knowing where you're going to put your power makes it fairly simple to beat.
Yeah, I think Shaw Surfer lost a ton of utility. Like putting in Okoye Nakia, like Surfer, there's so many 3-drops that can counter or be utility. You know, you mentioned Juggernaut, there's Rogue, there's Storm. It's like
Spider-Man.
doing the whole power thing. Spider-Man, Polaris, you lose out on that just by going for raw power. I don't think Surfer's big enough for the raw power route.
Can we go on a tangent real quick? How do you guys feel about the Spider-Man movement nerf where he can't grab unrevealed cards? Enjoy
Makes
it?
him slightly
Don't enjoy
worse. I felt if you play him on turn 3, it's worse because oftentimes if you have priority and your opponent hasn't played there yet, he's not moving anything. So that's just like slightly worse. Later in the game, maybe it's the same, or May can help you target. But I felt playing him on turn 3, he feels worse than he did for me before.
I agree very much. I think like it could have gone either way. There's times when it's a buff, but more often than not, I feel like I'm losing utility. I miss Spidey being like, and I get why they don't want everything to react with unrevealed cards. It still makes me a little bit sad. They're trying to simplify parts of the game, right?
I liked it with Arrow. I hated it with Stegron, and I definitely hate it with Spider-Man.
I could see that. I could definitely see that. I just had a panic attack because I randomly decided in my head that I was missing a bunch of kids' college recommendations. All right. I didn't. I'm not. So I like literally stopped doing this. I was like, oh my God, there's a recommendation. There's no recommendations.
Shut it down. Shut down the podcast.
But my brain told me I was missing a college recommendation, and I almost had a panic attack, like for no reason. All right.
Yeah.
My number 6 is Blob. I think that if we do this in 2 weeks, everyone has Blob on the list, and I'm not afraid of being wrong by small sample size. Thanos
I didn't put him in, but I agree.
Ramp was not a deck. Or not a real deck, right? Like it was a fine deck to get to Infinite, but you were never really climbing with it. Like, he just enables so much power. Lambie had this great explanation, and obviously I have a crush on Lambie. Yes, that's accurate. But Lambie had this really great explanation where if you are playing against Blob, you as the player of Blob can have some idea of how much power he has because you should know what's in your deck, especially if you have a deck tracker. But your opponent having no knowledge of your hand has fundamentally no way of knowing how much power you have. So Blob can be anything from 13 to 30, which makes it really hard to snap into and play against. And I think that that's just a back frickin' breaking change. Like, I think it is ultimately, like, Blob is meta warping and meta defining. He's gonna get nerfed, but like he's probably gonna be a 6-2 by this time in 2 months. But enjoy him while he's this, because this is scary. And like, I don't even know if 6-2 makes him that much worse.
Yeah, he could make him a 6-0. He's going up to like 40 on a regular, man.
So what this does, what they like to do with their nerfs is they lower the floor of cards and keep the ceiling high, right? So like that would lower his floor. So when he misses and all of a sudden he's a 6-7 or a 6-9, right? Like, that's a real feel bad then. And like that feel bad happens once or twice to players, and most players aren't playing like how do I phrase this? Most players are playing at least decks by feeling to some extent, and that like less power sight, and then that less power that 1 or 2 times you get it feels bad. And when he feels bad, you play him less, and that reduces play rate. Like, my big example for this is always Legion. Legion's worse, but not like nearly as much worse as everyone makes it seem. He lost a power. He's still a great card. He's still, if you check his cube rate, is super high. But he's played less.
Don't you think Legion fell off more because Snowguard got just so much better?
So at first, but the 3 power bird isn't really significantly better than Snowguard.
Well, no, what I'm getting at is like most people were using Legion to shut off Limbo because a lot of people were doing the turn 7 Infinite Shulk stuff at that time.
So when Legion was in the best decks, that Infinite deck didn't exist anymore because Legion was in the best deck. Right? So like that's not why Legion was being played, because the deck that you're saying that he shut down just stopped existing because he was so good. Like, no, it was just an unplayable deck because Legion was in everything and you were just automatically giving up cubes if you tried to play it. So like, no, Legion was powerful because there's like 18 use cases in different locations where Legion just like either auto wins you the game or like ruins your opponent's life. And in the process, because he's such a surprise and it's so hard to play around him, gets you a massive amount of extra cubes. Legion is like the big card I was right on that the community was wrong on. Like, and everyone has one, right? Like, Legion was the one where everyone's like, that's bad. And I was like, I'm buying Legion day one. Everyone's like, why? I was like, it's either fun or good, and I'm going to find out because there's something there. Like, just like the power of turning everything into the +5 Nidavellir. The power of turning everything into Nidavellir when you have Shang in hand, right? Is just like game winning. The power of, like, there's just a million different tiny things you can do with Legion that completely change the way Marvel Snap works. The ongoing location, right? Like, Legion is backbreaking and extremely powerful, and Legion's power being down by 1 didn't change any of the ways he won those games. You lost X tiny percentage more, but the mental effect of Legion having 1 less power royally screwed with people. I think that's how they nerfed Blob first.
Glazer, you better have Legion on your list up here pretty high.
I do not, because
oh my god, sucking the guy up so much.
so I love Legion. I think Legion should be, but Legion needs the right home, and the right home is a good stuff deck. And I'm not sure how to build a good stuff deck currently without Darkhawk. That's the real problem. Like, Bounce makes sense without Darkhawk, but good stuff outside of like
Ms. Marvel or
like
something.
it's a werewolf Ms. Marvel deck, but like the exact cards haven't come together. It's been like 3 days. But like the Blob deck already exists, so it gets to be on the list, and the Legion deck doesn't right now, so it doesn't.
Yeah, and I agree with the 1 point thing. I think they've said that they will do 1 point nerf. They did to Shuri and Sauron. Like, even though they know it's not game changing, it lowers the play rate. Like, I think they have data showing that, so they just do it for what you said, the feeling, like how a card feels.
All right, number 5's Oct.
I've got Werewolf by Night, number 5.
Oh, higher.
You have a higher?
Higher.
Okay.
Obi?
I have High Evo at number 5.
I've got my higher.
Okay. Roy?
I have Jeff.
I've got him higher.
Jeff higher? All right. Well, number 5 is going to be really fast. I've got Professor Xavier.
I left him off the list on purpose.
Because you hate him?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen so much of him over the last... Dude, I'm a Professor X enjoyer, no doubt. But, like, it's a glut of Professor X that I've seen in the last month and a half. I'm just sick of him. He can go.
So I think I'm more likely to have Professor X too low than too high. Like, I think he's why Blob and Goliath are broken. Like, he's why they're so good. He's why the Ms. Marvel lockdown is such an effective deck. He's why Thanos existed at all before Blob. His power is completely game warping and backbreaking. I think he's one of the very best and most powerful cards in Marvel Snap. And I don't think it's particularly close. There's, like, now that Spidey is gone, and thank God that old Spidey is gone, there's nothing that does what, there's nothing that does what he does. And if you build your deck to both take advantage of ways to win his lane, and then because of Goliath and Blob, there's now 2 ways to take advantage of the other lane and basically guarantee a win there. And, like, Professor X having that ability is completely nuts. It also works with Storm, but, like, Storm is so much more interactable that, like, X is just, like, there's, like, less than 10 cards in the game that will interact with the Professor X lane. It's like Jeff, Claw, Ms. Marvel. Yeah, that might be it, right?
Just Blue Marvel or, like, Spectrum.
Blue
like,
okay, Blue Marvel, Spectrum. Like,
Reed.
Blue Marvel, Reed, Spectrum, and Kazar. And Surfer.
Galactus.
So there's a few. If the right cards. Galactus will sort of blow it up. So, like, around 10, right? Like, it's rare that anything interacts with a Professor X lane. It's rare that anything interacts with Professor X lane such that it actually matters. Professor X makes other cards good. Yes. Ugh. Then if you do that, you are bad. So, I mean, being bad will definitely affect a Professor X lane, but, like, he enables other cards that wouldn't really exist without him. He enables strategies that wouldn't really exist without him. Do we ever see Psylocke as a card without Professor X? Rescue is a card fundamentally for Professor X. Atuma very often is a card because of Professor X. Destroyer decks work largely because of, like, all these decks enable and exist because of what Professor X does. I think he's one of the best cards in the game. He's not a card I often play. I do not enjoy Professor X, but he's stellar. I played him a lot when no one else played him.
And he's, like, Series 2, I think. I think him in Series 2. So
he's Series 2.
It's kind of nice
he's just not
for
good in Series
early
2.
game people. Yeah.
Nah, he's not good. Until you get Psylocke and, like, Thanos, like, in real lockdown, Destroyer and stuff. All the things that he makes good are Series 3.
Yeah.
Professor X is good when you can scam him out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I mean, you don't...
Or throw him on top of something that's getting
both,
big.
honestly,
you know?
but yeah.
Like, he's why Nebula doesn't have to worry about Killmonger, right? Like, he's just really good. All right. That is our number 5s. Y'all sleeping on X.
Number 4, I have high Evo. Does anyone have high Evo higher than 4?
Nope.
No? All right.
I'm
perfect.
exactly
yeah.
4.
Oh, you do?
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, I'll start this and then you take it away. I'll pass it over to you. I think high Evo, and I guess, Roy, this makes sense for you because you're talking about cards that kind of, build around or, you think of have their own archetype. High Evo came into the game, has essentially had an archetype in the meta, and it's changed a bit. When he first came out, it was really big on just beating down your opponent's cards. We have, like, more of a lockdown phase. And then recently it's been the high Evo She-Not phase. So it's kind of been, a bit different shells, but there's pretty much always been a fairly competitive high Evo list since he got released, which has been a while now. Like, he got released, I don't know how many months ago, but maybe around 6. And he's just always competitive and good. And I don't know if they ever, like, add cards to him or take some away, but it seems like he's just gonna stay in some way, shape, or form. There's always going to be a high Evo deck. Maybe there's less high Evo cards at one time. Maybe there's more. Like what you have in the deck, how much of a hybrid, but he just seems like he's here to stay. Over to Roy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think also the fact that there's like 2 directions to build the deck right out of the box is super interesting. A super cool design. So it creates like a lot of value. Like High Evolutionary is like a high value purchase card because you get a variety of different ways to play it. You can do the sort of the inflict version. You can do the pump version. You can do a combo. You just want one of the cards. Like there are High Evolutionary decks that basically just want like 1 or 2 of the effects, right? Like it's an extremely interesting deck building challenge that comes with, 6, right? Haivo is permanently a big bad, right? Is 6 always 6K?
I mean, everything is right now, but yes.
Yes, but is a big bad, so like it's a safe buy for your tokens, and I think just fun. And it, of course, plays with Glazer's favorite group of people, those Series 1 and Series 2 players, because a lot of the cards that I think all of them except the Wasp.
The early Series 3 players, you can't get it till you get there.
Right, but once you complete Series 2, it's early, right? The Wasp is the only Series 3 card that has synergy with him, right? So, it's just an accessible, really cool design card. So, A+, I think, belongs in this top 10. Even if it's not always the top deck.
It's even better now with the Luke Cage nerf.
So there is one Series 3 card that High Evolutionary, that's not a High Evolutionary card that High Evolutionaries wants. It's not on my list, but it's She-Hulk. High Evolutionary decks almost always want She-Hulk. And now they almost always want Ms. Marvel. Go ahead.
I had her on my list, and I had to scratch her off because I realized that I completely left off a superstar. So she got bumped off the list.
Look, we did this, I don't know, or a version of this almost a year ago, like way early in the podcast, and She-Hulk was number 1. So like She-Hulk's been like a super meta card forever. So High Evolutionary is the card I tell all the players as they get to Series 3. If people are like, what should I do with my tokens? What should I do? It's like, just buy High Evo. And they're like, what? But can I get X, Y, and Z? I'm like, sure, but then you need 4 other things, right? You're gonna like spend your life looking like in the desert in Series 3 looking for water, right? Like I got Null, now I can get another Series 4, and you're just like, great, good luck finding Venom and Deadpool, right? Like, that's not a concern with High Evo. You have High Evo, you can build a version of the deck, although now we might end up needing Ms. Marvel. We'll see if that ends up changing. I think High Evo is going to remain an extraordinarily powerful card. It genuinely hurts my soul to have High Evo here and not Thanos. First time we had Lambie on, it was like right after High Evo came out when he was everywhere. And Lambie and I stubbornly, we're like, all right, one of the questions was like, should you get Thanos or High Evo? And we were both like, get Thanos. Just like clearly wrong, we just didn't care.
Gotta stick to your guns.
Clearly wrong, didn't care. The Glazer motto. All right, so let's move forward on to 3.
Wait, no.
We got to do Obi at 4, I think.
Yeah, we had a lot of discussion there, so.
Apologies. I have Miss Marvel at 4.
I got her higher.
Yeah, me too.
Don't have her at all.
That seems to be the theme on everybody on my list.
You just low on people. I've got the Lad. Does anyone have the Lad higher? So, I think Iron Lad is probably the best generically good card in the game. He's fundamentally like America Chavez would have been number 1 on this list 2 weeks ago for me. And Iron Lad is fundamentally what I did in most of my America Chavez decks. I just went and said, okay, now that's Iron Lad, and I just have an extra copy of one of my important cards. Whether like almost no matter what you're playing, Iron Lad makes your deck better. He's great in Thanos. He isn't in Loki, but honestly, he's a reasonable replacement for America in it, if you think about it, right? Gives you an extra chance at hitting Loki. He like, where is Iron Lad like never good? He's been good in versions of Discard. He's good in like Nimrod Destroy. He's been in Phoenix Force decks. He is, along with Jeff, the most generically good card in the game. And while Jeff is better in more places because he's cheaper, Iron Lad is more powerful. So I got Lad at 4.
He's not good in ongoing.
He's great in
Ooh,
ongoing.
Iron Lad? Oh, he's good in ongoing.
Yeah, Iron Lad. He's really good in ongoing. Because guess what he gets all the fucking time in ongoing
Iron
deck?
Man. He gets Iron Man
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, look, it's a 12 power Iron Man. That's awesome. Like, he's good in Broodmead decks. Like, he's generically powerful. If
He's
you
super
have
strong.
good cards in your deck, he's good.
Yes.
Although, if you're running Blob, I urge you to not run him unless your Blob deck has armor or is Thanos. If it's Thanos, your odds of hitting Blob are low enough that I don't care. And if not, as long as you're running armor, you're probably fine. No more Lad
I
thoughts?
played a guy today that hit his blob with Iron Lad,
Mhm.
and he promptly got shanged the next turn and retreated.
I mean, so fair, but right? Like, that's a 1 cube loss if you're any good at Snap. Yes? Like, you Iron Lad on 4 and you hit Blob and they snap and you stay, you deserve it. Right? Like, just walk away for 1 cube. Thanks. Have a great day.
Fair enough.
All right. Number 3 cards.
My number 3, I've got Doctor Doom. I think I have Doctor Doom the highest. Okay, yeah,
Looks
Doom.
like
we
it.
all know him. We all love him. Maybe looks a bit weaker now with Miss Marvel in the game, but he even synergizes with her. And he's just kind of always there in the meta. He went away for a little bit when they changed his Doombots to 4 power, which thematically I kind of liked his base body being more powerful than the Doombots, but it was clear that, at least at the time, him being 5 and then being 4 didn't work out well. And they wanted some strong 6-drops in the game still. So I think he's just always been good. He's not hard to work with. There are some decks that you fill up your board, so you wouldn't want Doom. Or Professor X, a Doombot cannot get in there, but he works with Storm other than that and location. So he's just very flexible, and you never have Doctor Doom in your deck and someone's like, why is that in there? He's just dang good. And even Cerebral 5, it still works. So just a great card. Goated.
Sure ain't can argue Doom. He's scary.
No,
He's
Doom's great.
Yeah, I mean, Doc said everything just about that you'd want to do. I guess the one criticism why I had him at 10 is like, that's all he is, though. He's just like the most entry-level top card to me. Like, it's like, yes, this is an obviously powerful card. It's flexible, but it's also no synergy, except for wonky synergies like Cerebral 5. And so, or occasionally a Patriot, right? Because the Doombots don't have text, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, yeah, that's my only criticism of Doom.
Cool.
I mean, until last season, he was the only card that went super wide, right? Unless you're going to be dropping Shanna down.
Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, on a smaller scale.
You just said go really
Fantastic.
No, I mean, he's not wrong.
He's not wrong, no.
Technically,
He went wide, just small and wide.
Yeah.
Small and wide.
The best
Sentry also goes wide.
Glazer, water's wet.
Rock Girl, what's the Rock Girl? Skip Debris.
Debris does go wide.
Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is all whip.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out what are the other cards that
go wide. Claw goes mini wide.
Mini wide.
Claw is like the real one.
Yeah.
All right. Obi, what you got? Number 3.
Number 3, I got Werewolf by Night.
Nope. Not yet. We don't. Roy?
Okay, further up.
I'll get one.
Eventually, you have to.
Your number 1 will be tied with someone.
For me, it's Shuri.
Anyone have Shuri higher? All right. Tell me about Shuri.
I mean, Shuri's busted. Like, the card double strength. I think, like, she's just always going to be broken if this is the effect that she stays. Whether or not, like, Red Skull could go away tomorrow, Shuri players will find some other card that they can make big. Vision is another, like, obvious example. It's also like a cool combo card with her brother. Like, Shuri is both an extremely powerful an extremely flexible card, which I think makes it one of the most frustrating cards in the world. Because like Shuri, Wong, what we call like Magic Shuri, Wong, or Wong Shuri, like T'Challa, and then like there's lots of cool stuff you can do with like all these things, but there's also the boring like Taskmaster plays. The card also like I think is responsible for probably the most nerfs in Marvel Snap history, like its existence. Maybe
Thanos says hello, my friend.
That's fair. Thanos is up there, but Shuri is also up there, my friend. There's another card which is my number one, which I don't think is going to be anyone else's number one, that is also responsible for a lot of nerfs, and I'm willing to put money on will be responsible for nerfs in the future. But yeah, Shuri's just like such a generically powerful card, but also a combo card, and that makes her an indispensable part of Marvel Snap.
My current working theory is I think Blob might kill Shuri for a little while. Not for long. Shuri doesn't go away for long. But for a little while, I think Blob might kill Shuri. She was like number 6 on my list. I'm not saying she's bad. 7 on my list. But like I think I'm tentatively concerned about her place in the meta with Blob. That ongoing ability on Blob is really, really inspired design. Because otherwise Blob just goes in that deck and we have a problem.
Yeah.
Is it me now?
Yep, you're number 3.
Shadow King.
Higher.
All right. Look at you. See, you got me.
Okay,
All
Obi.
right.
Okay.
All right. We are
number 2. Does anyone have Jeff higher than me? I got number 2.
I mean, everyone has said Jeff except me, so no. Tell us why the cutest card is great.
Well, I mean, we all know Jeff's great. Like, there's pretty much no debate that if you name a good card in the game and someone doesn't say Jeff, you're going to be surprised. But he works, and you talked about Glazer, Professor X, and how strong that is in the meta right now, but just kind of has been. And Jeff matches his power 1 for 1. I mean, they're each 3 power, and you can use them offensively if you're playing Professor X. If your opponent's playing Professor X, you can use it to try and counter them, assuming you know where their Jeff is. And he's just the 3 power. It never sounds like much, but just having that 2 cost, such a golden spot, so flexible, he just always seems to produce value. Like you could play him on 2 right away, and you get to move him later. If he couldn't move, you would probably save him later in the game. But the fact that he can move, you can just play him at any point in the game, and he's probably doing something. And your opponent is probably always worried about where he's going to move. Like you can clog your own lane, move him out. Like it's just so hard to play against. Like you can't counter him. There's no way to counter him. He's going to add power where you want it. Like he's just good. He's just dang good.
Yeah. He breaks the rules. He lets you play 2 cards when there's a Sandman out, all right? He lets you play 2 cards in the, Space Throne. Just, he's a great card. Does crazy stuff.
I have a question for Doc, though. What do you replace Jeff with on this list? Glazer knows.
What do I replace Jeff with?
All right, he's trolling.
He wants you to say Nightcrawler.
So, the secret Jeff superpower is actually a priority. What Jeff does better than it does a lot, right? But the secret superpower that top players use Jeff for, that I see a lot of players not using Jeff for, is priority. Jeff winning or losing your priority when you need to is remarkably powerful. Early in the game, late in the game, 3 matters more than you would think. But early in the game, when gaining or losing priority for things like Storm, Professor X, etc., that's when Jeff really, really shines. So Jeff as a priority gainer or loser is one of his, or is his secret superpower, because all the other stuff is written right on the tin.
Yeah, I think I'm not a great player. You said great players playing that way. I'm not a great player, but I do that with Jeff. I almost always will just play him in a separate lane, because usually I just want priority, but I always play him basically on his own lane right away, and then I'll move him however I want later. But he is good for priority as well.
Sir, I've been on your stream. Can you not lie on my podcast?
I mean, I've never been like
just-
top 100, or I don't finish like top 1,000 ranked or anything.
So, A, me neither, but like, I'm pretty freaking good. And B, think about how many people play this game.
I mean, if we're comparing like the player base, but you know,
Okay, look. This week on the podcast, Lambie isn't here. We're just very good. Cool. All right. Next. Like, it's fine. We still know what we're talking about. Yeah, I was gonna say shit, but I'm not gonna talk shit. Obi.
My number 2 is Shang-Chi.
Ooh. Not on my list at all.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yo, it only took 8 picks, y'all, but I finally got one, guys.
your time to shine.
Yeah, it is, right? With Shang-Chi. He's the great equalizer. You get him early on in the game. He's the only card that can knock down the big stuff. And he's always in the meta. Always. I don't think there was one where he hasn't been there.
There was one. There was exactly one.
Okay, exactly one. And we're a year in.
Well, yeah, it was the late August when it was all Move and Brood Me. Because those two decks were specifically built to be like,
avoid
we
Shang-Chi,
get to
yes.
8 power. Good luck.
Bloody smooth. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. Silky smooth, not bloody smooth. Silky smooth.
Silky smooth. So I apologies.
Don't be violent. We're very peaceful here. Like a sea.
My apologies, man. But yeah, I mean, it's the first card that people get that is like a counter card, right? Like, and that's what's great about Snap is the counter play. Like, if it was just like, who throws up big numbers, it's not that fun. The fact is, like, these cards interact with each other, they counter each other. You can do things to mess with the opponent, to engage in that way. And Shang-Chi is one of those first cards you get that does that. He's super strong. He still is. Especially with Blob coming out strong. Now, man, Black Knight, that thing not being able to be destroyed or reduced power, that's kind of crazy to me. We haven't spoken about him, but
Yeah, we have.
Good God.
He's not on the list. I just love him. I love Shang-Chi. I think the nerf was really, really harsh. And I called it at the time when everyone was telling me it wasn't going to matter. I think it was really, really harsh. We're seeing blob decks running a lot of 8s and 9s right now.
Mhm.
Which means you better
There's
call
so
the
many
right spot
nines
on the left.
in the game. There's so many 9s in the game that I didn't realize until Shang-Chi got nerfed. You're like, wait a minute.
Yep.
I can just play this safely? Like, I don't got to worry about it after?
So, like Shang at 9 would have been like this high for me. Shang at 10, and like the amount of time I sit there staring at like an opponent 8, 9 location. I'm like, deep sigh. I've got a problem. Right? Is obnoxious, and like the other problem I have with Shang right now is a lot of the best decks sort of blank Shang anyway. Like, if Blob is your only big thing, then I have to guess right on the last turn. Inshinaut, good luck throwing priority, because they don't have to play much until they go She-Hulk, Hulk. Right? Like, a lot of the decks that are really, really strong right now sort of avoid Shang in a way that, like, they can avoid Shadow King because the power accrues over time. That's why I think Shadow King costs half as much, which is also pretty freaking nice. But look, at the end of the day, Shang is probably still my favorite card in all of Marvel Snap. I love Shang-Chi very much, and I'm sorry I said mean things about him.
We'll forgive you, considering it's the only card I spoke about.
Oh,
I'm just kidding.
He came on the podcast to say Shang-Chi.
Yeah. Obi has just left the podcast. Yeah. We're to Roy, number 2.
My tech might be a little outdated at this point, but I have Alioth here. So does anyone else have Alioth? Did Ali not make anybody else's list here? All right, so we'll click the off person. Yeah, this card is extremely brutal. It's still extremely brutal, even with the nerfs. It shapes what you do in the top end of Marvel Snap. It's one of the decks that make card to me. This represents lockdown to me, because I think the fact that it's like an absolute like dream crusher of a card, and that's what the lockdown deck is supposed to do, is dream crush people, is this. And it's of course a card that has bought so many nerfs. You could even have it standing in for Galactus in many ways. Like, I think it is one of the remaining cards in the game that sort of has that Galactus style play pattern, where just it's something so over the top that your opponent can't interact with it, even with repeated adjustments to this card. I think it's at its weakest status. But, you know, hey, blow up somebody's blob with it. So this is definitely something you can do. So I think that I haven't played in the blob week yet, so I can't really comment. But as of sort of last week, to me, Alioth was still the second most powerful card in Marvel Snap.
So I have this exact problem with Alive. See, I'm saying it the bad way, which is the right way. I have the following problem with him. Blob decks have to play a lot of high power cards, which means they often win priority. And that means that he has no effect. So, like, if he's in a blob deck, I think he's great. A lot of blob decks are cutting him. I don't know if that's right yet. It's very early. But outside of blob decks, because blob decks are so prominent, if your opponent's going, like, Storm to win a lane with Jessica Jones, and then they're going to go, like, I don't know, turn 5 into, like, some other, like Devil Dino, you're not going to have priority for him, which is, like, my real concern right now. Because that's what they did with his latest nerf, right? They said you only work if you have priority, and now priority is so hard to have it. And Obi, say what you want to say.
Just that Jessica Jones is amazing after the buff. One of my favorite cards to play early on, and they really brought her back. It's super fun to play her.
Yeah, she's great right now, especially with Storm. Like, 9 is still just a lot. I can't believe they made her a 9. That's so absurd. Breakpoints in the game matter, right? Breakpoints in the game matter. I bet you there's still a really good Alioth deck. I just don't know where it is. Like, I'm terrified of Blob. I think, like I played today, and I played, like, 7 games in a row against Thanos Blob. So, like, that's just the meta in my head for the time being until otherwise shown.
I think that's how it's going to be. Blob is everywhere, and I don't think Havoc's going to change that, but maybe Selene changes meta. But yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of Blob for the rest of the year.
Wouldn't surprise me, especially with only an OTA left. Also, like, if Blob went away, Darkhawk would immediately be like number 1 or number 2 on this list, right?
Oh yeah.
So like Blob's like even if Blob was just
trade-off.
Good, killing the best deck and being this strong is like okay. So my number 2 is Ms. Marvel, and that's someone's number 1. So we're just gonna pass on to our number 1s.
All right. Well, you led me into this one, Glazer. I have Miss Marvel number 1. It sounds like Roy might have him number 1 as well. And oh no! Oh, I thought I did. Okay, cool. It's just me. Just yeah, Miss Marvel. She's just nuts. I had Doom rated number 3, and Miss Marvel costs 2 less than Doom, but she can put out the same power. Obviously, she has more requirements and limitations, but as a base, she's 4. Cost 4 for 15 power, which is absolutely bonkers. And if you have Zabu in your deck, then she costs 3 for 15 power. So Mr. Fantastic is never getting down to a 2 cost, and he puts out 6 power. So she can be the same cost as him, but just has 9 more. So I think she's one of the best examples of power creep in the game in that sense. I know it's not identical abilities, but very, very similar. And her value is just insane. I would not be surprised if they reduced her power in some way, like in the future, just a small nerf. But she's just nuts working with or against lockdown. So many decks use her surprisingly flexible. It's not that hard to keep different cost cards in the left in the right lanes. And yeah, just nuts power.
I agree with everything you said. She's super strong. I had her at 4.
So, look, I had her at 2. Every month I do that Marvel Snap Zone article where I'm like, hey, what do you think the cards for the next month are going to be? And Ms. Marvel was like number 3. And when W messaged me about it, W went, they know she's just 4-cost Doom, right? And I was like, no, I don't think people have realized that. They think it's going to be really hard to trigger. And like, W is like the Doom expert. He like literally took Dr. Doom from obscurity and said, here, Dr. Doom, you are now in this meta. And you will never leave this meta. Like, when he was like, this is 4-cost Dr. Doom, was like, oh, this card's going to be broken. Because 4-cost Dr. Doom is fundamentally not what the game is made to do. And it's ridiculously easy to accomplish. So 4-cost Dr. Doom, you should play that card if you have it. And if you don't have it, well, hopefully you didn't buy Shaw, because God, is it a world and a half better than Shaw. Shaw would be like the 72nd best Marvel Snap card, while Ms. Marvel is on average for all of us like number 5, number 4. All right. Obi, I think I know what your number 1 is based on the list. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. I have the belle of the ball from 0 to hero, the Shadow King himself at number 1.
Do it. Tell us about Shadow King.
Man, what a journey this card. When he released, absolute train wreck, right? Nobody wanted to play him. Plus, at the time of his release, we didn't have all of these cards that were building power. You know, stacking multiple bonuses on things so you could bring it down. I think really it was just Shuri that was doing power increases. So I mean he's really come a long way. Now with this current thing that they're going with regards to the doubling of power, the building of power, you got the Elsas, you have Angela, Bishop, Kitty. I mean, that package has been nerfed to the ground, but assuming back in their heyday, right, you still have other things like the destroy builds, right? Venom, Carnage for that matter. Anything. I mean, anything that gains power, any surferless, like Shadow King's amazing against Surfer. Blob, amazing against Blob, unless they have that Luke Cage sitting exactly on that lane. Like it's a better Shang-Chi. It just erases big things that get big quickly.
So because Luke Cage was just nerfed, people haven't realized how good Shadow King is. Shadow King should be in almost every deck, even if you're running a bunch of positives. Shang-Chi is completely freaking bonkers powerful. He's one of the best cards in Marvel Snap. He's like bar none, completely nuts. He's like what Shang-Chi used to be. You should find a reason not to run Shang-Chi. He should almost always be better than your 12th card. Sorry, Shadow King. He's almost always better than your 12th card.
Shadow King's awesome.
Yeah, agreed. He's number 1, he better be. Roy?
Mine is Zabu. So Zabu is busted. It will always be busted until they get rid of the cost reduction. Like, yes, specifically right this very second, thanks to Darkhawk being nerfed, thanks to Blob, Zabu is not that great. But but there's still Iron Lad. There's lots of reasons to want to play 4-drops. There is also Miss Marvel, right? The Shard, sure. The Shard from Black Knight, right? Like, Miss Marvel is another reason to want to play. And I've been playing a Miss Marvel combo deck last month, and it was running Zabu and not running Darkhawk, right? Like, Miss Marvel is a powerful 4-drop. Like, every 4-drop forever is 50 times stronger because Zabu exists. And it distorts a whole cost slot. And it's been nerfed, what? Twice? To a minimum of 1, right? Was one of the changes?
It was always a minimum
1.
It was only nerfed once.
Was it nerfed once? I feel like it was nerfed once.
Nope, exactly once.
Okay. And so it's just been strong for, I think, the nearly a year that it's been out in the wild. And I think until cost reduction is the most busted effect in all card games, and I think for a locked term card game, there's 6 to 7 turns at most for Marvel Snap, cost reduction will be especially busted. So that's why for me it's number 1.
My number 1 is Werewolf by Night. It's a 3-cost card that can win you a lane all by itself. It is the only one of those, I believe, in the game. Surfer doesn't win a lane, it gives you power across lanes, and Surfer is a last turn play, whereas Werewolf is on turn 3 play. You can play Werewolf anywhere from turn 2 with certain locations to turn, I guess, or with Time Stone, to turn 6 and still get a ton of power on him. He's fundamentally, at minimum, a 3/9. He's not immune to Shadow King and Shang-Chi, but he's extremely resilient to them. He makes what is still probably the best deck, even if no one wants to play it right now, tick. He's what makes it the best deck, along with the card that we eliminated from consideration that we'll talk about in one moment. I think Werewolf by Night is completely busted. The only real argument I see for him not being in the top 3-ish is that he's really high skill cap.
He's like a 3-cost vision. I mean, you just put massive power wherever the hell you want.
Mm-hmm.
And duck and dive all the counters to him.
I mean, if you're running a couple bounce cards, he's like a 3/17.
He's not hard to average over like 11. His power is just, that's why I wasn't sure when people really hyped on Shaw coming out, and I'm like, I don't see it. Like, I just see Werewolf by Night over here. He works with any unreveal. It doesn't have to be a 3-cost card. Like, he has Shaw's power, but he can move, dodge, Shang-Chi, Shadow King, and he can work with so many things. Like, usually cards that go that big aren't that flexible, but he just works. But you're right, he does have a very high skill cap, which I think is nice. Like, the potentially strongest cards have the possibly highest skill caps around. So
if you flip, that's what I would do. Flip Shaw and Werewolf's release.
Like, have Werewolf be the season pass card you would have done?
Yep. Shaw would have been perfectly fine back in that season, right? It would have fit with Elsa when Elsa was still Elsa.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like, that would have weakened Loki because Elsa was nerfed, and then yada yada, right? Whereas, like, so Loki would have been pushed out of the meta, and then Werewolf is a much more interesting season pass card in basically every way, especially for early series players because they have on reveals.
Yeah, although they did plan Firestar coming out in December, it seemed like. So it seemed like that was Shaw, clear synergy in the same month.
Yeah.
I agree. Werewolf by
But
Night, way more interesting.
Even then, you're just dropping 5 on Shaw on the last turn of the game, right? Unless you can pump her a bunch too. But, like, you're
right.
just
Shaw
saying,
doesn't
like,
actually help out Firestar that much.
Right.
It's all Firestar show.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Firestar after Werewolf would be pretty good.
Yeah.
All right. That's all of our lists. The next thing we're going to do is we have to quickly talk about the card that exists in Marvel Snap that just won the major tournament in Marvel Snap that everyone complains about all the time. We can't not address it. We just eliminated it from the list because, like, Loki's probably really number 1, right?
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of content creators saying that it's not that it got killed. So,
wait, who said that?
Loki's on the decline.
Who said it?
KM Best said that it wasn't he can definitively say it's not the number 1 deck in Snap currently.
Sure, and then 3 freaking minutes later, Blob came out and killed the deck.
He was talking about Dark Hawk Balance being number 1.
It was the Dark Hawk Balance.
Yeah, and for any skill player.
And the next day, Loki won the major tournament.
Yeah.
I was just trying to help Roy out.
No, look, all respect to Lambie, who frequent guest of the show, one of the greatest players, but, like, one tournament, invite tournament, like, doesn't necessarily mean that the card in the deck is busted. Like I guess I'll be the stick in the mud here. Like it's an awesome tournament and it was fun to watch different parts of it, but I don't know as a data point if it's like super convincing that for what the best or worst deck is. I mean, I imported the lockdown deck into mine, so I'm not hating on the decks or or that sort of thing, but like it's not science.
So, okay. I'm going to make a claim and you guys can agree or disagree. Right now, in a meta that is full of Thanos, Loki is the best deck because Loki eats Thanos' shit for lunch.
I think Loki is still very strong, and yeah, with Thanos. So I think Loki, his play might just pick right up again this week. It's still been at a decent rate. Like his play has still been pretty high, and I think it's pretty high like at all levels. Like being skilled with Loki is good, but I don't think you have to be skilled to win games with Loki.
It's currently like the 9th or 10th most played archetype.
It's strong. He does crazy stuff. He takes your list and plays it back to you more efficiently.
Yeah, old leader problems.
Yeah, it's rough.
So would Loki have been your number one, and where would Loki have ranked on your list?
Definitely top 3.
I still would have. Yeah, top 3 for me. I would have kept Shadow King number 1. Because even Shadow King combats Loki's Collector,
and
which is the main right, which are their main power dumps.
Okay. I would have had Loki number 1 or number 2. Right?
Top 5.
Fair enough. Which leads us to we need a combined top 10. We have 8 cards that we seem to agree on. So I'm going to read them out to you. Please debate which one you think should be number 1, with the idea of being compromised. So Werewolf by Night, Ms. Marvel, Shadow King, Lad, Shuri, Evolutionary, Jeff, Nico, and Doom. So let's start with Werewolf versus Ms. Marvel. Just vote which one you think is better, Werewolf or Ms. Marvel.
Werewolf.
I vote Miss Marvel.
I vote Werewolf.
I vote Werewolf. So Werewolf wins that. Werewolf ahead of Ms. Marvel for the time being.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sorry, I've got to type while we do this. Okay. So our next is going to be Werewolf. So what are we comparing? Shadow King to Ms. Marvel or Shadow King to Werewolf?
I mean,
are we saying Werewolf's number 1, it seems like?
Right now, it's number 1. We can compare Shadow King to potentially beat Werewolf.
I don't think Shadow King beats Werewolf.
Okay, does Shadow King beat Ms. Marvel?
To me, yes.
Does Shadow King
Also,
beat
yes.
the OBS? Doc?
I'd say that's fair. I'd say you could do Werewolf, Shadow King, Marvel, or even say us besides Marvel. But
okay, we're King, Shadow King, Marvel. So far, so good. Shadow King, Marvel. Our next contender is the Lad. Lad is in 4th of these. Do we agree for the time being?
I had Lad much lower, but I get it.
Just for now, it's not going to stay at 4th.
Sure,
It's just of the ones we talked about so far. Yeah?
Yeah. Yes.
sounds good.
I abstain from all Iron Lad discussions. I don't like the card. So, but I get what
Roy pleads the 5th.
Yes.
So the conversation we have to have, and Roy is going to abstain, so we have an odd number, is Shuri versus Lad.
Ooh, I would have...
I think Shuri's stronger than Lad.
I was thinking Shuri lower for me, but I didn't have Shuri on my list, so maybe I'm biased because I don't play much Shuri.
I think Shuri lower too, so that's the vote because Roy is abstaining due to hatred. Okay. So next we have Evo. So Evo versus... Let's start with Evo versus Lad.
I have Evo higher.
I have Evo higher.
Roy?
Yeah.
Obviously Evo higher.
Yeah.
So Evo will be higher. So does Evo go above Shadow does Evo go above Ms. Marvel for anyone?
No.
Okay, so we have high Evos in fourth place right now. Our next card that we all seem to agree is on this list is the Doctor Doom. All right, so I don't think anyone has Doctor Doom above Evo, correct?
No.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay, so where we are is Doctor Doom. Okay, Doom or Lad?
Doom.
That's tough.
Yeah.
What are we thinking, Roy? What are we thinking?
Well, my Iron Lad always hits Mystiques and and rocks and like living tribunals when I don't need living tribunal and all of these things. Like Iron Lad has never won me a game ever, but has lost me so many games that I didn't put it on my list. So
you're thinking Marvel, Doom, Iron Lad.
I put
So
Iron Lad is
Evo.
currently at the back for me. Like whatever, just
Oh, sorry,
my
Evo.
vote is always
Doom,
Iron Lad is last. So I would put
So
Okay, so Doom above Iron Lad.
So Doom above Iron Lad, we all okay with that? I would have Iron Lad higher, but that's fine. All right. Jeff. Where is he fitting here? We've got right now Werewolf, Shadow King, Ms. Marvel, High Evo, Doom, Iron Lad, Shuri.
Personally,
I
I
have
think
Jeff just below Doom.
I have Jeff way higher, but I'm happy to not fit about it.
Yeah, I had Jeff my number 2, but I'm happy. I would put
So
Jeff above Doom.
right behind High Evo, above Doom? Right behind High Evo, above Doom? He's behind High Evo, yes? Everyone's okay with that?
Yeah, definitely behind Hyville, I think is fair as a group.
And
Yes.
and then Nico. My working assumption is Nico is last on this list, but still on the list. Be like behind Shuri.
I have Nico at 10.
I think
We okay
behind
with Nico
Shuri,
right after
I'm
Shuri?
fine with.
All right, and then let us make our lives easy and add Loki to this list. Where does Loki go? Our top 3 are Werewolf,
Oh,
Shadow King, Ms.
no.
Marvel. Where does Loki go? Yes, I was planning on doing this all along, friends.
I think he goes 2.
Yeah. Same.
Those are our top. He goes to second place.
So you're saying Werewolf, or are you saying Loki above Shadow King?
Where it would be, yeah, Werewolf, Loki, Shadow King would be the order.
I could see that.
All right, that's going to be that because I'd have him number 1, so he lands at number 2. So our top 10 cards in all of Marvel Snap are number 10, the Sorceress, Nico Minoru. Number 9, the Wakandan Princess Shuri. Number 8, Kang But Good, Iron Lad. Number 7, Doom and his triplets. Number 6, the cutest card in Marvel Snap, Jeff. Number 5, the one who can't even beat a raccoon, Haiva. Number 4,
Spoilers.
the lowest rated Marvel movie. Sorry, whatever. The lowest rated Marvel movie ever, but one that still has my heart, Ms. Marvel. Number 3, I got nothing cute to say about him, Shadow King. Number 2, because before he's nerfed in 2 weeks, Loki. And number 1, the star of Roy's favorite Marvel property, Werewolf by Night, Jack Russell himself. We all okay with this list?
Yeah.
It's a good list, but does Doctor Doom have triplets or does he have twins?
He poops out
He
2
makes-
of himself.
So he has twins.
But he is a triplet.
Whatever. All right. So we are on to our final segment, as always. Variant of the week. Glazer picked Blob, quite understandably. All right. Who picked the Howlfire Gala art?
His name is Handleblob. This is the Handle Blob. He is the best Blob. I literally bought Blob with tokens so that I could have this glorious piece of art for this gentleman who clearly runs books in New Jersey.
It's awesome.
It's pretty. Who did the Wrestling Blob, which is the one I thought Glazer was going to pick?
Yes, I did Luchador Blob for sure.
It's awesome.
Love it. From the top rope, yo.
I don't
It's probably the best
know what this-
luchador variant.
It definitely is.
Yeah, agreed.
But that's no offense to Luchador variant fans. That's a low bar, though.
I like the Taskmaster one a lot.
Yeah, Taskmaster one's
Venom
solid.
one's good. Where he's holding up the belt.
Wait,
Is that one considered luchador? The Venom? I think that one's like a
maybe, I don't
WWE,
know.
but it's not a luchador.
It's like sports Venom. All right.
sports entertaining Venom?
Athletic Venom.
All right.
What is the collection art style of this blob? Like what the third one here, which is I would say what the type of variant is, but I don't know.
It's called Horsemen of Salvation. That's like the full name of it. It's not in the game yet. It's unreleased. That was my pick.
Mhm.
As when that comes out, I'm not going to get any other blob variant. I'm waiting for that one to come out, and then I'll pick that one
That's a streets and sanitation blob.
Mm.
up.
Nice.
I have no idea the context of this blob.
So
I'm sure
I do
somewhere out
because
there.
I said on a video that I didn't have any idea what this was, and someone told me. So this is from Age of X-Men.
Okay, stop.
Ooh.
Done. Okay, we're good. Don't need to know any more about that. All right, let's bring it in with
Yours.
mine, Dan Hip.
Hip.
What do we
I
need
bought
to
it.
say about Dan Hip? But other than it's awesome, Dan Hip's great. All right, so
I have a question about the Dan Hip blob.
Sure. Yeah.
On his right arm and like his leg, is that hair? Like there's little lines. Are those hair or is that like cellulite? Like what are those lines supposed to be?
That is
So-
hair.
I
Big
think that's hair.
globulous hairs.
Yeah,
right.
globulous.
Lobulous.
I was curious.
All right. So now we begin the sad process of saying goodbye to our friends and guests. Obi, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself again, and if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers want to become your loyal listeners and loyal viewers, what would they find in your content?
Oh, well, you're going to find a lot of Marvel Snap. I only stream Marvel Snap currently. I do it on Mondays and Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Central. The channel's full of jokes. We do dad jokes for follows there. I have a dad joke prepared for you all as well,
Yes.
which we'll give you in just a moment. But other than that, you can find me on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all under Obihaved, Obihaved. If you're into music from back when middle-aged men were in high school, my channel's
That's
the
me.
place for you. And if you like corny dad jokes, it's also a place for you. So come by, chill, say hi. You'd be welcome. The joke for today is, why do ducks have feathers?
Why?
It's to cover their butt quacks.
You're the
It is
worst.
a very dad joke.
So whenever
it's
he
very on
gets-
brand. I didn't say they'd be good, boys. I just said they'd be jokes.
whenever a sub or follow happens, Obi gives a dad joke. So that's either like the best advertisement ever, or you're like, oh no. All right, ready? My turn for Obi. So, A, if you want to hang out with me online, I am in Obi's chat all the goddamn time. B, Obi's chat is a blast. Watching Obi play is super fun. He is laughing. The chat is laughing, having a good time. The energy is super high. It's one of the chats I look for when I've had a really long day, because I know by the end of it, I'll be like chipper and bouncy, because Obi's just got such great energy. So if you would really like to smile at the end of your day and get some energy when you're feeling down, go check out Obi and you will feel some joy.
So there was a lot of groans here in my first attempt. Can I please try to make up for it?
Please,
I love
give us a
the first
banger.
one, but go for
Okay.
it.
So if Captain America's shield is vibranium, what's Hawkeye's shield?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Quicksilver.
Oh God, that one was worse.
That one is definitely more clever than the first one.
So I like the first one.
It's
better.
relevant to Marvel. It's relevant.
It's true. It's true. It's true. All right. Doc, why don't you tell us, if our loyal listeners and loyal viewers wanted to become your loyal listeners and loyal viewers, what would they find in your content?
So I don't really have any dad jokes other than I just start out every YouTube video by saying "Zooey Mama," but regular weekend YouTube videos, and I do a lot of kind of variety videos. I try and kind of add something original or unique. So I do unique deck guides, or challenge decks, or random meme or funny videos, and card previews. Good for trying to keep up with the new cards coming out. That's most of my video content.
Awesome.
My turn. So, DoctorOctillery, I don't follow for the variety. That's not that it's not great, but I follow him because he's stupidly and annoyingly insightful. Having him talk before me today was genuinely obnoxious because I would be like, I'm going to make a point, and then he would make it. And I was like, thanks. He's thinks constantly and very deeply about the game and is absolutely excellent as a person you should listen to gain a deeper understanding. And unlike me, he won't drown you in videos, so you can kick back, enjoy it, and not feel like you have a second job trying to watch him. He's awesome. Follow him.
I'm blushing over here. That was beautiful. My goodness.
Thank you.
If you didn't have a wife, I'd be over there right now.
She's very mad at me. It's okay. Come on over. I was mean to Roy. I'm sleeping on the couch.
Mm-hmm. Well, Glazer sleeps on the couch most days then. All right. So, friends, that brings us to an end of another episode of Snap Judgments. I want to quickly remind folks where you can find us on social media. We are on Twitter /XYZ at SnapJudgeCast. We are the official podcasting partner and official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. Please go and join their Discord. You can find the link in the description of this episode. Our email is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. And our Mastodon, which is about to become extinct, is snapjudgments with an E at tabletop.vip. And last but not least, almost every single day, Glazer is out there producing snap takes on our YouTube at Snap Judgments Pod. All right, we are actually done with this episode. Obi, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Awesome. Doc, thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you very much. You guys are amazing.
All right, friends. Glazer, thank you as always for joining me each and every week for these episodes.
Peace and love, friends.
All right, loyal listeners and loyal viewers, stay safe, make good choices, and keep on snapping through the holidays.